Hey, and welcome back to my Stardew Valley min-max guide using the Skull Cavern method. This is the last episode. We are going over the 27th and 28th of spring and wrapping things up. We are now past the Skull Cavern portion of the spring run. So we got there back on the 17th, and we did something like 10 days of Skull Cavern dives for as much iridium ore as we could possibly get. I miss a smelting in a furnace right there. I don't know why I'm not paying attention, but now it's all about prepping our fields for the first of summer. If you want to play optimally, I don't here because I don't really like the regular sprinklers. I'd rather just use this space for quality sprinklers. So I go ahead and dig up everything that was previously there. The kale that I just harvested will be enough to get me to, right now I'm level 4 farming. It'll get me to level 5 and level 6. Level 6 is what we're going for because we need the quality sprinklers. So right now I'm going to start clearing out some space. I do start this on the 27th rather than the 28th because we have over 500 plots to plant. And it takes a while. So it's better just to. Oh, there's Bruce running out of the room. It's better to start early. I also want to start getting my foraging up because, and a good way to do that is to hit these stumps in the secret forest. Eventually, I want the tree fertilizer so we can start building that an oak tree farm over by the train station, which is why I'm kind of running around for some forageables. Now, I went ahead and I've played this day a couple times before this run. And what I realized was I could get some artifact troves and have Clint open them up because there's a few things that are worth a lot of money in there. There's treasure chests that are worth 5,000 gold. There's pearls, they are worth 2,500 each, and golden pumpkins are also worth 2,500 apiece. So I did some testing just with some geodes earlier, and I realized there's, I believe, 2 or 3 good finds in the artifact troves. So I go ahead and buy 5, and I have some magma geodes to open up as well. In hindsight, I could have used the Stardew predictor. That's where you basically take your save file and plug it into the predictor, and it'll tell you exactly what is going to come out of the geodes. I don't do it here, but that's okay. And really, this just ends up being some extra gold I don't actually need because I believe I saved something like 17 iridium bars here. I have 8 prismatic shards still in a chest. So this extra money isn't necessary. And when it's all said and done, with kind of the extra goods that I could sell, I estimate I have conservatively 42,000 extra cash, and that's like, I mean, that's 100 star fruit there. So I could have been planning 580 with deluxe speed grow. Maybe let's bring that down to 60 extra star fruit instead of the 480 that I originally anticipated. But at the end of the day, it was a rough estimate. I needed to buy the speed grow back on Thursday, so there's nothing that I can do about that now. And at least I have that extra money going into summer. I do end up having extra time on the first of summer, and I do like a small Skull Cavern dive. I suppose, had I planned or estimated a little more aggressively, I would have had the time to get the tool, the everything that I needed for the extra sprinklers and the time to plan it all. But I mean, 500 plus crops going into the second month is already a pretty big task. So I'm very happy with this. When it's all said and done, we're tracking towards upwards of over 2,000 starfruit in summer, and we're eventually going to make that into starfruit wine using the kegs. So that right there, we're talking about 6 million in income. So as I'm doing chores, I'm smelting what I need, making sure that I have a lot of those fire quartz, so I actually don't have to use too many regular quartz to get to the final amount of refined quartz bars that I need. The fire quartz, if you remember, I was doing it or I was smelting it earlier, or at least talking about it. They do give you 3 refined quartz versus just 1 from the regular quartz. So it's 10 p.m. We're gonna knock out some more forageables. Saturday, like I've said before, is the best day for forageables because basically Saturday night, overnight, everything resets on the map. And then from Sunday through Saturday, things keep spawning and they just keep adding up. So if you haven't done any foraging, I always recommend doing that on the Saturday before everything resets. Just selling some extra things. Extra money for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday, so I can trade my jade for staircases if I remember. It didn't look like a lot of prepping for the fields, right? I was just cutting down some trees and knocking out some grass, but had I not done that, I would be really pinched for time tomorrow. So this is the start of me tapping the oak trees. I need to start getting that oak resin because once we have the star fruits ready, we need to get them into kegs as quickly as possible, and those kegs cost oak resin. Just like I did with the basic sprinklers, I use the stone paths to kind of start my layout. Just enough time to say hi to Bruce Taco the cat. And now it's level 5 farming. I pick the tiller. Level 6 farming, I get the quality sprinklers, and the level 4 farming. So this is a good haul. We did get a treasure chest and 2 golden pumpkins from the testing that I did with the troves. We have over 22,000, nearly 23,000 gold. And we have a very bad luck day, but it's not going to matter because we're not going into the Skull Cavern. We're not doing any fishing, right? We're knocking out the rest of this field setup. So if you aren't aware, the best way to keep your fields hoed and the soil ready to go over seasons is to plant something that doesn't grow in the next season. So as I'm setting this up, I'll talk about that a little bit because what I'll end up doing is buying parsnips today, something like 512 parsnips, and that will be enough to, once I hoe up this entire field, plant all the parsnips. They will die overnight because they cannot be grown in summer, and that leaves it makes it a lot easier, right? I'm not losing any of my hoed spaces. All I have to do is run through and scythe up the dead parsnips. It sucks that you don't get any income out of that. There's a trick you can do with crops that are multi-seasonal, like wheat. So at the end of summer, I can plant wheat maybe a couple days early and make sure it's ready to, it'll be completely grown by the 1st of fall. So then I get, a full crop of wheat. And all of my fertilizer, the deluxe speed grow, will be saved from the star fruits. So it would go, I would harvest my 3rd star fruit batch. I would plant the wheat a couple days early, and then on the 1st of fall, I have the wheat ready to go, and then I can directly plant pumpkins. And with the deluxe speed grow and the agriculturalist perk, I can also get, just like I'm doing with the starfruit, I'll get 3 batches of pumpkins. So it's a neat trick. And here we are at Pierre's. I think you can hold right click and shift if you're on PC to buy things more quickly. So 512 is the magic number. I know I keep saying 480 starfruit. That's just because we also have some of the summer crops for the bundles, like a blueberry, melon, and all that good stuff. We also need quality crops. We need quality corn, quality melons. And this is the reason why I took the time to get the gold hoe, because I can do each sprinkler space with one swing of the hoe. And that's very helpful. If you notice in the top right, I do have a defense buff and a speed buff. That's from a crab cake, and it lasts a long time. It lasts nearly all day, I believe. So I love using those on the farm. I can't use them down in the mines anyway because I opt for spicy eel for the extra luck, and food buffs don't stack together. So crab cakes are good for energy and speed around the farm. Knock this out a little more quickly. And we're zooming. I mean, it's just about to turn 5. There it is, 5 o'clock, and we have nearly all of this hoed up. The pattern that I'm using is, just kind of a neat pattern that if you stack them in the corners, you can get an extra sprinkler down. That's basically the scarecrows are lining up just exactly so all of the crops are covered. And here I am using I'm clicking in the bottom right corner. So I'm just holding down my right click and walking over the spaces so I can get them all planted. I have made mistakes before, like, oh, don't hit that. There's an extra hoed space. I've made mistakes where I'll put down the sprinklers first and then try and plant, but that means you have to walk all around the sprinklers, where right here I can just walk right over the stone paths. It makes it a lot easier. Yeah, and this is, I mean, you do need to be mindful of your time. You can't waste a lot of time on the 27th or 28th if you're doing something like this, because you really need to, it takes a lot of time to get everything down. But with that said, this is kind of relaxing. It's not as stressful as the Skull Cavern, and we get to see basically what we've been working towards this whole time. And then once the first batch of starfruit is ready, I'll evaluate how much money I have and how much deluxe speed grow I've picked up beforehand, and will build upon these crops. And then once the second batch is ready, we'll build on that batch as well, and probably make iridium sprinklers, and see how far we get per harvest. We'll just finish up. Since I have these iridium sprinklers, I'll put them down. And after that first harvest of starfruit, I'm gonna go. I'll be level 10 farming by a mile. It's 1250. I am cutting it a little close. There we go. 10 minutes to spare. And that is the end of spring year 1 using the Skull Cavern method. You guys can look forward to a little bit of a longer video. What I'm going to do is kind of a wrap-up finale where I go through all of summer in a single episode. I may even dive a little bit into, I'm in fall right now in my actual playthrough. So we'll kind of talk about, the accomplishments and milestones of this run. and my personal thoughts on it. So I really look forward to making that video. But until then, thanks for watching.